I'm going to do a quick intro, and when Julie gets in, I'll do one for her. So Julie and I...
I'm in.
Yay. Yay. So Julie, I have never really met you. I feel like I'm really in the outs because everybody knows you and speaks so highly of you. But I did ask for a little bio from you. And what I know is that Julie has been around for over 10 years, what, 12 years now?
15.
Oh my goodness. And spent many years with a very high-end boutique real estate company, and a couple of years ago went to Compass. And she's a huge producer, near 50 million. And near is a very Southern term. And but one of the things is, you know, she's a weekly blogger, a philanthropist, a comic at heart, a lapsed athlete. I love that. That's me too. Lapsed athlete, a flea market junkie, a serial renovator, before and after specialist, and a prolific chocolate chip cookie baker. So I'm really excited to have Julie to be a part of our panel. Galen Roberts, whom I have known for almost 4 years now and have had the privilege of being in business with him. He's an investor in Keller Williams, Oakland. And he came here from the East Coast a little over 10 years ago. No, yeah, right around 10 years ago.
10 years today.
10 years today. Didn't know a soul, not one person. And he came here, and by the time he turned 30, he had been a self-made multi-millionaire. And I've had the privilege of watching Galen over these years double and triple his business year over year over year. He's a tremendous businessman, but he's also very creative. He comes from architecture and design, but he is not just a residential agent. He also does commercial and development and land. I mean, there's just nothing I haven't seen Galen get his hands. But one of my favorite things about Galen is he's a gentleman farmer. I've had the privilege of being a guest in his home more than once. He has goats and chickens and a big old garden patch that could feed the whole town, and it's so fun to watch. So welcome, Galen. I do see Rosie, but not her face. So Gustavo, let's make sure we can get Rosie's face. But hi, Rosie, are you there? We're having technicals. Gustavo, if you could give her a call and walk her through getting in.
Yes.
I will tell you about Rosie because I know she'll get on quickly. And I've had the privilege of knowing Rosie about 3 years as well. And she is one of the most brilliant people I know. I just love her. But I didn't know, she's been in the business 20 years. But what I didn't know about Rosie is that she was an associate producer for 60 Minutes. And she has worked with people like Ed Bradley and Mike Wallace and Diane Sawyer. She was actually born in Vietnam, but was not a refugee because she was born long before the war. And her father worked for the US government. She has been in so many different places in the world, but she really has had, her start in real estate came from flipping houses. And then she got into it 20 years ago. And she does a tremendous amount of business as well. So, all right, quick introduction. I hope we get Rosie on. She's quite entertaining. But I'm going to start with some questions. So the idea of this, and we can pivot because that's the new word for 2020 is pivot, is right on a dime, daily, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm going to talk about lead generating because we all know without leads, you don't have a business. So, but different people do it different ways. And I just felt like it's important. How are you lead generating now in the time of shelter in place? So the first question I have, and I'll start with Julie, what would you say is your value proposition? Meaning, why would a seller or buyer choose you? If you're up against on a listing or interviewing buyers, why would they choose you?
It's a tough question to answer, right? Because a lot of us do that. We know our business, we know our markets. Many of us do many of the same things, and so answering that question, "What's my value proposition?" is something that I've had to think about a lot. I don't come alone to my transactions. I have a partner, I have a listing partner, but I also have a full-time project manager, who is my twin sister. I like to tell people she dyes her hair gray. But anyway, so Jill is my sort of ace in the hole, because while I'm here with you, Jill is at the nursery in the truck and picking up plants and doing pots and you know, attending to those 101,000,001 details that make a listing before you bring it to market. So I think we're just a fit for many people, where you know, you can hand us your key and be assured that we're going to leave no stone unturned.
Yeah, love that. Galen, what would you say is your value proposition? Why a client would choose you?
Yeah, I mean, we're all different, and I have utmost respect for Julie because she's been doing such a great job for so long, and it's so amazing to watch, even the blog and everything. I would say, you know, it's a difficult question to answer, because I think all of us, you know, we just do our daily thing in our daily life, and we don't necessarily think why we are good at what we do or how we do it. I would say, you know, a lot of my clients who are across the Bay Area, you know, it could be first-time home buyer, investor, even a commercial deal, usually come to me through another referral. And they come to me because I've had a really good experience with another agent or another client, and they say, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's not in it for a commission, which I think most of us as professionals are not in it for a commission, and really understands the complexity of how to navigate a transaction. So for me, you know, that's what a lot of us already have, but I hear that time and again every time I talk to people. So
I love it. And I haven't seen Rose.
And I bring a mask.
And you bring a mask. Thank you.
That's right.
Appreciate it. I still don't see Rosie. I'm hoping she can join us, but I'm going to go to the next question, and I can always go back to Rosie and ask the last one. So let's just get down to business here.
Yeah.
What lead gen systems are you using, and where do a majority of your leads come from? Julie, I'll start with you.
Well, like Gaylen, I think the majority of my leads actually come from referrals. I'm at the place in my life now where I have a fair amount of referral business, and I'm deeply, deeply appreciative of that. But the reason I have that, and this goes back to Gaylen talking about the blog, I write a weekly blog, and I've been writing it for almost 15 years. And so I have published something like 575 essays on real estate. And along the way, and by the way, all of those blogs begin with a narrative and a story, and then they segue into how that story is like real estate. And so people have come to know me, and they watch my family grow up, and they watch my sister come to work for me, and you know, they know who I am in the world, and it's a weekly touchstone. And so I rely on that more than any other thing for leads.
Got it. And you, Gaylen, so what lead gen systems are you using, and where do your leads come from?
I would say a majority of leads over my 10-year career has been from other professionals in the business, my past clients, of course, and just doing a great job treating everybody like the best I possibly can, so that way when I get a referral from somebody, they know that I'm going to treat them like their family. Like I just had an agent from the South Bay call me and say, hey, I got a client that's shopping up in, you know, Hayward. It's a VIP client of ours, can you take care of them? And we just got into escrow on a $1.2 million house. So, you know, that just came out of the blue, and there's a referral fee for that, of course. But you know what, when you factor that in, it's just like if you were to be spending money to do mailers or anything else. So, I mean, it's a fair way to do business. And I think having a good agent community. The other thing we've been doing is we've touched out to all of our contacts in the database, and we call them, we check in with them, and it may not even be a client. It could be a financial advisor. It could be anybody. We just call them and say, hey, how are you doing? What are you doing? Are you okay? You know, and it's been shocking to see what that generates, actually.
Yeah, care calls. So the thing is, you can get 100 leads, but if you don't follow up on them, it doesn't do anything. So what What do you use to follow up on them? Do you have a drip campaign? What are you doing to follow up on these leads that you get? Julie?
I don't have a drip campaign, and I don't buy leads, and I don't do, I am not the person to talk to about that, because I really, as I said, I rely on the blog to be my touchstone with people. And as a result, they reach out to me. So I don't have to chase my buyers at this point in my career, or my sellers. And that's a lovely place to be, but it's taken 15 years to get there, right? So it's not something that happens overnight. And I, like Gaylen, I get on the phone and I stay in touch with people, but I'm not looking outside my sphere a whole lot. I mean, I'm a specialist. I work in a very specialized marketplace. I'm not across the Bay Area. I don't want to be across the Bay Area. I want to sell what I know, and I know this high-end marketplace. And so I'm specific to it. And by the way, I've tried all that stuff where I've bought time on Zillow and bought leads and blah, blah, blah. And I've thrown spaghetti at the walls to see what sticks. And what sticks is really working on the people that know you and believe in you and trust you and refer you to their friends. And that's really what I do. So I focus on those people. I mean, when you said I baked cookies, I bake a ton of cookies, and I've baked something like 50,000 cookies over the years. And I spent a lot of time during this SIP, yeah, because I figured it out at one point. But I've just dropped cookies off at people's doorsteps because I'm baking, I'm home, I'm gardening, I'm doing all the stuff that we're doing. And then I just leave them a little note that says, like, SIP, bake, right? How you doing? That's it, right? It's very, very, I'm kind of old school. So I'm not too much online following leads. I'm really on your doorstep.
I love that. That is amazing. Very personal. Gaylen, what do you do for follow-up? Do you have any systems or programs, or what are you stay on top?
Yeah, I would agree with Julie. You know, I'm not the most tech savvy. I just use Google and Google Contacts, and I keep stuff in there, and the good old brain to just follow up with people. I am probably missing a lot of business because we don't have an amazing follow-up campaign or anything like that, or a blog. I don't like to write stuff, so I avoid it at all costs.
I'll write it for you.
Yeah, so if I could just do what Julie does, I could probably be in front of more people for sure. But I just hate typing and I hate writing, and I just like to spend time with people and call them and talk in person. But like, if you want to tell me to write a blog, I'd be like, absolutely not. Same with Zillow. I never paid for a lead in my life. I've always paid my colleagues who referred me clients. I think that's a better approach. And I've worked with a lot of folks that are probably on this call, and I just use my old brain to keep track of people. And I used to chase things more than I do now, but at this point, I'm like Julie. It's like, if they don't want to work with me, and I used to laugh when people would say this, because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, if they don't want to work with me, then, like, what's wrong with you? But it's like, I don't want to chase people. I don't like to chase people around. It's too much energy and time, and it's stressful. It's like, you either want to do business and you want to work together, or you don't. If you don't want to, that's fine. You can go find somebody else if you want to be chased. No, I just don't want to chase. So.
And I think that what Gaylen is speaking to is really about working your strengths, because there's so many things out there, and there are a lot of different CRM things, and I've done ninja training, and it's not that I don't go to all of these camps and I don't hear these, and I always take a few good pointers away from them. But I think the truth is that we're individuals, and real estate, more than probably any other career out there, it invites a lot of different personalities. And so there's going to be somebody that fits you, and you just find your strength and then really work your strength. But the most important thing about that is be consistent at it. Because if you wrote only once every 3 months or once a year, or you did a market graph and you sent that out haphazardly, it would have no impact. So whatever you pick, do it consistently. So if you're a person who likes to pick up a phone and call people, and you do that consistently, good on you, right? Do that. If you write. If you are a person who is on Instagram on a daily basis, do that. because there are a million realtors out there. And so if you're not in front of your clients, somebody else is in front of them, right? Some other realtor is absolutely in front of them.
Yeah. And it's time on task. I mean, Gary Keller says it too, time on task and hire to your strengths, which is something that I really never really thought about, but I've done. I don't really like technology, so you know, I never did it, and I never really cared to do it. But now, you know, we have a Facebook campaign manager. We have a person that strictly sends out. We send out like 1,000 to 2,000 letters a month to people, and you know, I hate that stuff, but it gets done and it drives business back to us, and I don't have to do it, which is even better. So, you know, if you don't like doing it or you don't have the ability to do it, then pay somebody to do it.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Leverage. Okay, and I'm going to say this to all of you that are joining us. If you have a question, please put it in the chat box and I will make sure to ask. And if we have time towards the end, I'll open it up for everyone. But if you have a question, just put it in the chat box.
This is Rosie. I was just checking in. I've not been able to get in. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yep.
Wonderful. You don't need to see me, but I can't get my photo up, but that's fine as long as you can hear. I'm listening, and good advice I'm hearing here. So I'm in.
Let me ask you, Rosie, we'll kind of go backwards a little. Rosie, what do you believe is your value proposition? Why do people want to work with you?
I do think everyone, I've just looked at the panel of all the different participants, and we all bring our own value to our clients, and why we would work with ourselves. I think it's because you're genuine. When you're genuine, you attract people who are like you. You're honest. And I think what I bring to it is I anticipate problems. So when we say, oh, we're going to have a smooth transaction, I think there's a skill there that you don't wait for a crisis to happen, that you anticipate it and that you can resolve it before it becomes a crisis. And I think that's what experienced agents bring to the table, knowing what lies ahead and making sure that they take the stress away from their clients.
True. And I'm going to ask you another question. Where do a majority of your leads come from?
I think Galen and Julie both, I agree with them. There's actually an app that can tell you where your business comes in. Every time you plug in a transaction, it'll track it for you and give you a pie chart so you can actually see where the percentage of your business comes from. And I would say about 75–80% comes from past clients, and then another 15% from as referrals. And we only have a small 5% at open houses, which should say a lot because we don't have open houses now. So your business really should be able to sustain regardless of that open house.
That's brilliant. And so let me just ask you this. How are you tracking and staying on top of or following up on your leads? And then I'm going to move on to the next.
Okay. Well, in between baking the best banana bread recipes, and walking my dog, I stay up on top of my clients. Blogging, no. I know Julie has had a wonderful blog for years. I know that has been her signature piece for business, and she's a great blogger. I actually put out a bi-monthly e-newsletter. I started with a hard newsletter that you mailed years ago before internet came along. And this was the bread and butter of how I kept in touch with my clients. Now with the e-newsletter and being able to format it and then just putting in short articles and links, it's not only a way of keeping in touch with your clients because they may not even read it. It pops up in their email and they delete it, but still your name is there and they know to see you next time. Well, what it also allows me is that my clients will actually click back. So you're not sending a hard mail and they never will call you. But once you send something by email, it's very natural for them to click back. And they'll say, so glad you called. I mean, emailed because we're thinking of, and I just got one last week, we're thinking of selling our place and moving back into the city. So you have a vehicle where not only you can get your message out to them, but then they can also respond. And I think most buyers now or homeowners, the convenience of being able to respond is there when you can communicate by anything that's on the internet.
I love that. That's so great. So let's talk about, I mean, tell me what kind of vehicle you're using to meet with clients. I mean, I know we can start meeting with them limited face-to-face, but most people are still doing it virtually. Are you doing it through Zoom, WhatsApp? And then when you meet with them, what kind of a conversation are you having with them? You know, I see that Michelle's asking during COVID craziness, are they apprehensive about receiving mail from us? Talk to me about some of the conversations you're having with clients and how you're able to navigate and be their trusted advisor through this time. And Gaylen, I'll start with you and then we'll go to Julie and then Rosie.
Yeah, I think for mail, I mean, we don't know how everybody's going to respond, but I mean, the people that everybody's getting mail. The people that open their mailbox are still going to touch the mail and read it. So I think mail is fine. I went on a listing appointment yesterday, signed it in person at the house because the lady's like, look, I don't really think this COVID stuff is real. And I work at a hospital and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, so, I mean, I personally want to take precautions because I'm having a baby in June with my wife, baby boy. But, you know, maybe other people are not so, you know, concerned. So I think everybody's going to take a different approach. I've always tried to work mostly via phone and text. You know, I go to an in-person meeting maybe once or twice, hopefully, and that's it. You know, and I don't think Zoom, you know, you probably could transition everything to a Zoom meeting and never have to meet in person, but I like to meet. So for me, it's something that I want to do if possible. You know, I've tried, what I do like about what's going on is that we can get on a bunch more Zoom calls and cut out all this driving and networking and just make that happen via Zoom. But I think the in-person meetings for clients, at least to get them secured and feel good to work with you, I think it's still going to be in person. So, and then what was the other part of the question?
Well, yeah, what kind of conversations are you having with these clients? You know, I have noticed that it goes anywhere from we're all going to die to what COVID.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I just tell them where we were. You know, I have 8 listings coming on the market in a month. I was like, you know, 3 weeks ago, if we would have talked 3-4 weeks ago, I would have said, I don't know. Everybody's hiding under a rock. Who knows exactly what's going on? Now, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like the market's all of a sudden opening up. And what was a strong spring market kind of fizzled out, but it seems like it's coming back. So now I'm just telling sellers, you know, it seems like people are coming back. And I was showing properties down in Fremont the other weekend, and there was a line to get in. And it felt like an open house, even though it was scheduled. So I think, you know, the market in the broad sense is probably going to pick up, and I do think we'll see a crash in a little, not a crazy crash, but I think we'll see a downward tick and people lose jobs, and there's going to be the third phase of the economy shakeout, and then I think we'll see opportunity. I'm excited. So,
how about you, Julie? What are you using to connect with clients, and then when you do connect, depending on where their headspace is, what kind of conversations are you having with them?
Well, I was in the market in 2008, so of course I have that experience to draw on, and we did in fact adjust, and we had a correction, and then we came back. And so I'm using history a little bit. I'm using the fact that people are buying in the midst of a pandemic as being incredibly hopeful. You know, I mean, that's an amazing thing that in the midst of a pandemic, you would come in and you would buy a house. And there's been more demand than supply. And Galen's right, that may in fact shift as we see the real fallout. of what's about to happen. But I'm just trying to be in the moment with them, because the truth is none of us has a crystal ball, so none of us knows what's really coming down the pike. So a lot of this is just conjecture. Do we think it's going to be better or worse in September? It's probably not going to be better, right? Then that's just the tip. I think you got to have those difficult conversations with people. It's probably not going to be better. It's probably going to be a slow climb out. And aren't we lucky that we live in the Bay Area, where in fact we still have a huge number of people stepping up and buying in the midst of a pandemic. So it's conversations like that that try to be reassuring, but are also based in reality, because you got to start with reality.
Yeah, I mean, the market's volatile, and all I think is that a lot of people like to have noise and they enjoy it. And at this point, the more noise you can cut out and focus, the better, not as an agent you will be as well, but even the buyers and sellers. I mean, one person said, wow, what's COVID doing to you and your business? And I said, all it's done is cut the crap out. It's cut out the crappy buyers and it's cut out the crappy sellers. Like, it's made it very clear who wants to buy and sell, and I love it. So
Love that. How about you, Rosie?
Okay. Well, it is definitely a different time. I think the question was, what's the conversation you have with clients as you're in this new market? And Galen is right. I think we're starting to see buyers come back into the marketplace. So here's where I have seen the last 2 weeks. I've literally stopped baking because in the last 2 weeks, buyers are starting to come out, but they're not going to open houses. I looked at my phone and saw a lead from Zillow. I am not a Zillow Premier agent, but the lead came from Zillow. The second one I received was from my own website. I have a listing out and someone reached out on my website. And the third one was a referral, and that referral actually came in from my e-newsletter. So what am I saying is that it's really very different how you're getting business, but you can. My kids tell me that my generation is still used to sending out postcards, still trying to connect traditionally, but the generations of buyers, they're used to being on Zoom. They've been on Zoom for a long time. My son lives in Australia. He's Zooming everywhere. They are comfortable looking online. They're comfortable having a relationship with their agent online. And so having that conversation of how do you explain to them why I'm not seeing you, why we have to see things virtually. My God, they're dating virtually. And so we need to catch up with this generation. We're very, very comfortable. And as my son said to me, once our generation moves on, the coming up generation's already comfortable with what we're trying to get used to right now. So you don't need to have that conversation. The conversation I have is, what about you? What are you looking for? And I showed property this morning, gloves and booties and masks, and they were quite comfortable. So the conversation is really about what opportunities are there for buyers, not only in this market, but in moving forward. Because as Julie knows, 208 turned into a 5-year transition, and we adjusted. And the buyers now will also adjust. I think it's a great time to be jumping back in and looking for property. And I think that's what we want to convey to buyers who are coming back.
I love it, Rosie. Thank you. I normally don't interject, but I heard a quote today. Someone said the only script you should be using is the Adele script. Hello, how are you?
It's true. That's true.
Fine. So talk about how you're able to serve your clients once you have them on the market through virtual open houses, virtual showings, or now in person. How are you holding your open houses? How are you getting those houses out there for people to see? And then once they see them, how are you capturing those leads?
This is Rosie. So I'll start by saying that I actually found the transition really nice, because when you have a listing, typically buyers would come in, they are not working with an agent yet, and you pick them up at the open houses. Without that, now buyers are calling the agent directly.
Ah,
So I received three calls to get information and could I show them my property. So now the buyers who don't have agents are not just roaming through an open house by themselves. In order to see the house, they're contacting the agent. So you've got a direct link right there. I just picked up 3 buyers because they had to call me. They had no one else to call. So anyway, I think that that's a real transition for listings. That's really makes it a gem for listing agents.
how about you, Julie? How are you capturing leads once you get a house on the market?
Well, I think Rosie was right. They are calling you directly, and that's a nice thing because typically when they're coming into an open house, they don't want to tell you who they are, right? So it's, I mean, I'm doing all the stuff on virtually that you can do. I've got video tours, I've got Matterports, I've got all of that kind of good stuff. Yesterday, Sarah and I filmed an entire video over at 729 Santa Ray in bee costumes because we were just sort of poking fun out of the fact that it is so difficult to show a house anymore, right? That you might as well show up in your hazmat suit. So we had fun with that. That'll come out this week and we hope everyone enjoys it. But it's, we're working with our hands tied behind our backs. These showings, the Pete's, the forms, right? All of that stuff have made our lives pretty difficult. And what I wrote about today was the fact that the one thing Sunday Opens did was that they weeded out all of the houses your clients didn't want to see, right? They could go on Sunday and they could self-decide, oh yeah, that's not going to work. They can't do that anymore. So really, I feel like I've been busier than ever because what I'm back to doing is spending a large part of my day taking clients, meeting them, right, house to house, and showing them one house at a time. It's kind of old school in a way, when we used to put our clients in our car and take them to 3 or 4 houses. Now they follow us from house to house, that we're taking them into houses, gloves and all.
How about you, Galen? How are you capturing leads on your listings?
Well, we're probably not doing it the best we could. The truth is, I rely on the power of the MLS. I think, we all joined in to work with the MLS, and the value and the power that it provides is amazing. I mean, if we didn't have an MLS, I think it would be a whole different situation right now. And I think that's, why all realtors probably banded together to begin with, is to create this valuable tool, which is super valuable. So I really rely on that. I don't focus on buyer leads a whole lot from open houses or listings. My goal is to perform, exceed expectations, and secure 3 more listings. So that's the ultimate goal. If a buyer shows up, great. If they don't, I don't really care. It's fine. Somebody else will pick up a buyer and probably bring them in. So I'm missing opportunity, but you know what? That's okay, because what I really want to focus on, the sales aspect of my business, is 5. In my mind, it's only 5% of what I do. I spend 95% of my time on looking for investments, buying investment properties, and building out other arms of my business. This sales thing for me is just sort of a byproduct of me being in the real estate business.
Tina, this is Rosie. Could I answer Andrea Barberi's question here about new agents? Yeah, because I know that we all were new agents at some point, and it depended when you came in, how the market was. It's always going to be changing, and that's what we love about real estate. It's always changing. So Andrea, I would say this: if you're starting out, forget the open houses. Don't worry about that. You develop an online presence. And I know that sounds like really celebrity, whatever, but where our buyers are going to find you is online. They may find you in an open house, but even if they work with you, they're going to check you out online. Go on Zillow, get yourself a profile. You don't need to be a premier agent, but you need a profile on Zillow. Go to Redfin, the same thing. Make sure you have a good website. These are basic things that we've had before, but never, ever, oh gosh, who do I sound like? Ever before, is it been more important to have an online presence now where they can find you. This is the only place where buyers can find agents now online. So if you're online, that's very important to spend the time, and then also build your database. Everyone talks about a CRM, but for new buyers and even for new agents, even for myself, what the heck do you do after you build the CRM? You start connecting with each of your clients' sphere of influence, and you type in, email them, text them, go through your alphabet, and by the end of the month, you will have reached every single person in your database. So that's how I think you can get buyers. I know it sounds like it's not going to work, but it does.
It does, Rosie. Thank you. We call it the data bank, and you need to be making deposits in your data bank. So what I would say also, I'll just throw this out there. I deal with a lot of new agents, and I will tell you, I say make yourself indispensable to an experienced agent, because they don't want to go out and drive buyers around all day, and you could help them out. And that's one way to get started. So let's go to another question, and then we're going to really open this up. But and thank you, Jeff Wiseman, for mentioning that being on Zillow and doing online is so important. It really is. So here we are. All of us, everyone is approaching this time because no one really knows what to do. But what we have found, there's a lot of business happening out there. Don't hide under a rock. What would you say? And I'll start with Julie. I'll go to Rosie, and I'll finish with Gaylen. What words of advice, what would you say to this community of agents? And I can tell from who's on here, it's high production down to brand new. What would you say to these agents that are fairly new or not quite in production that you believe could really help them? That they should be doing, or what kind of advice? I'll start with you, Julie.
Oh, well, I mean, Rosie's right. We all pay our dues. So you come in and you're hanging a shingle and you're an independent contractor and you're paying your dues. And it starts with really, as you said, banking on the people that you know and really working that sphere. And so it's sales. I mean, sales is a grind, and the deal is you got to be scrappy. And if you're not those things, you don't belong in real estate. So hang in there, do the work, pick up the phone. I think Rosie is absolutely right about having an online presence. I did that through Constant Contact. You can do that through Instagram. You can do that through Facebook. You know, again, it's about being consistent, staying in touch and staying relevant in your online presence. It doesn't do you any good to have a website if it's a static website. So you've got to keep updating it. I do it with the blog, but you know, there's lots of different ways to do it. So stay relevant, stay static, stay online. But get on the phone. I mean, literally get on the phone and start calling your people.
Love it. How about you, Rosie? What would you say to this community of agents? What should they be focusing on? What advice would you give them?
I agree with Julie. However, I'm a talker, but I'm not a phone talker, because for the years that our gurus have told us, pick up the phone, call 5 people every day. I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to say. I'm not one of those, hey, how are the kids? And oh, by the way, business is great. I'm not good at that. But I agree, consistency is important. Whether you're 1 year in the business or 20 years in the business, as Julie said, it's sales. You're only as good as your last transaction. And even then, you start from ground zero every year. So here's what I would do now: re-energize ourselves and see that life goes on. People get married, people get divorced, people die. Real estate makes up 19% of the US economy. And that is the reason why it's an essential business. Not that we're important, but that we bring in a huge revenue to the US economy. We're important to make sure this economy sustains, and we're helping the economy as well as helping our clients. So that should give us motivation in itself to dig in and take advantage of this new environment. What I would do is make up a list, go through your list, Scrub your list. If it's 10 people, don't wait till you have 20 people. Start with 10. And I text them that this generation, they don't even look at emails. My kids don't even read their emails to the end of the week. Text them, say, just thinking about you, how's it going? With COVID now, it's so easy to say, just want to make sure you're safe. What are you doing to keep sane? Just check in and then let them know, the market's crazy. I think people, whether they're buying or not, want to know what's going on with real estate. And we're the communicator to let them know that. So get your CRM, text and call 5 people a day, and then get some online presence, whether it's a blog, an e-newsletter, giving the forecast, however you want to do it, on Instagram or Facebook. Have fun with it. Learn what our kids already know. They're already online. They already have a presence there, and they're already socializing. And that is how we're going to get business. And that's how we're going to last beyond this market.
Love it, Rosie. Thank you. Gaylen, tell me, what would you say to these agents? What advice, what should they be focusing on? What kind of support would you offer them right now?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think everybody starts from the bottom, or at least most do in this business. You're not an employee. You're basically an independent contractor, an entrepreneur. You got to pick up every hat, every ball, and you really got to run with it. And for some people, that's not what they expect. They get into it, thinking, oh, I'm just gonna, study houses, or I love houses. But it's really a people business. It's a house business. It's a put out fires business. It's a networking business. There's so many things you need to do. So I would say, pick a couple of the things that you can do really well and execute on those. And don't go at it alone. You really need a good couple groups of agents to hang out with, to bounce ideas off of, or you need, fortunately for me, when I moved here in 2010 with my wife, we jumped in this together. So, we built our business the way we built it today because we could rely on each other. If one's having a tough day, we talk to each other. It's not easy, but it can be fun, and it just takes time. So, I don't know if that's advice. The actual piece of advice I would recommend, which is hard for newer agents, is to be prepared to be not stopping your marketing and not stopping your work and paying all your bills for at least 6 months. Because the agents that don't have the reserves to weather the slowdowns and the ups and downs and all over the place end up getting what everybody hates, which is commission's breath. And people very easily know when that's kind of there. And I think when you cannot have that, then you can come from a place of confidence, speak about the market, speak about your experiences, and really help them instead of just trying to close a transaction because you got to pay your bills.
Love it. Coming from contribution, really good. So, we've got a little time. If anybody has a question, I'd love to, have you put your hand up or just unmute yourself and ask. So please, or put it in the chat. And until someone does, so I'm going to ask you, Julie, Rosie, and then Galen, what is your 90-day plan, right? Because that's all we really can plan for at any time right now is the next 90 days. What is your plan for the next 90 days? What are you planning to do with your business to get new business? And
I thought Galen said it beautifully. I mean, the thing is that when business slows down, people have a tendency to back off because they're worried about spending the money on marketing. This is when I double down. When things get slow, I don't back off my marketing, I increase my marketing. And there is an expense involved to that. But I think this is when you step in, right? You step into the void. When other people are frozen, you step in. So lean into your business. None of us are traveling, right? So we're here, we're at home. We're kind of stuck, and I'm working hard. I mean, I'm working probably harder than I ever have because in many ways it requires you to be more creative, to be online, to to calm people's fears. There's a lot of fear in this marketplace, and what we're doing is walking them through that fear and understanding that this is a transition and this too shall pass. But in the meantime, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And so your realtor is there in the background, really helping you with that journey. It's a big transition, and I love what Rosie said about people are still having babies and life is still going on and they're still getting married, because life is an evolving thing and it doesn't stop just because COVID-19 has come onto the scene. And so all of these things are still happening in terms of death, divorce, job transfer, expansion, right? And in the heart of that is the home. And at no time in our life, or even certainly within my career, has home had a more emotionally relevant center, right? It is the most important thing right now because we are spending 24/7 in our homes. And so they have huge importance. And people are also discovering my home is too small. I can't be in this tiny little condo with my 2 children and my husband, I'm going crazy. They're stepping out and saying, okay, what do I need to do to make my home fit and serve me? And we get to walk them through that journey. And it really is a privilege.
That's great, Julie. I've heard it said that, people buy and sell homes based on life changes. Well, this COVID SIP is one of the biggest life changes we've ever experienced.
Yeah. I had a friend who said to me, she's a mover. She's a moving concierge. And she said, a move is the physical manifestation of a life event that has or is about to take place. The physical manifestation of a life event that has or is about to take place. And I thought, that's perfect. That's exactly right.
That's it. And we get to be the ones there to be a trusted advisor through it. Rosie, how about you? I'm not asking anybody to plan out the year because we don't even know what the year is going to look like, but we can plan 90 days at a time.
90 days. Yeah, that's 6 weeks has felt like 6 years. So 90 days is going to be like a decade here. But we have to have a plan. What I've noticed with the market is we will continue to have 50% less inventory, which we already had previously, a tight inventory. But I do think buyers will come out. So my pendulum has been swinging over towards working with buyers, where before I was all, let's say, listings. But I feel that the people who are calling me are predominantly buyers with, I think, 1 or 2 listings and holding off, just wanting questions. My 90-day plan is to really put the tentacles out there to give buyers information that what is going on, how do you look at a house, how do you place an offer, educate them about this new market. You asked about conversations you have with them, how do you introduce yourself. I found the last 3 clients I met last week quite comfortable texting and then emailing, and off we go. It's a generation that's very, very comfortable with communicating online. So my 90-day plan is to start racking up my buyers and showing them. And what's so easy, I don't really have to do much because the disclosures will have all of the pertinent online information, and we only see the property as the last resort. So it really is a comfortable place for an agent to be. So that's what I'm planning to do, is shift my pendulum and start collecting buyers and focusing on more online presence.
Thanks, Rosie. Gaylen, what about you? The next 90 days?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's going to be fun. We first going to have this baby, sell these 8 listings, close these 5 buyers in escrow. And what I really want to do is we're repositioning a lot of our personal debt with our mortgages and stuff because rates are low. We're applying with our business, our S Corp, to go buy more property. So there's a buyer for everybody on this call, and that's yourself. And I see this too often, that we're always trying to help our clients and we're always stressing for our clients, and we're not taking our fair share of what's in the market. So we should all be actively searching for deals or opportunities. I mean, we all believe and invest in real estate. We should be really doing it. So that's what that's what I always wanted. Like every year we want to buy a property. It's so like you should be doing it. And each and every one you buy is just another nest egg that you get to work with in the future. So there's always opportunities, and really that's what our 90 days next coming are really to double down. I mean, selling houses is going to happen regardless, and buying them for clients is going to happen. So, you know, I think it's easy to get caught up in the noise of doing that and forget that we should be focusing on what we want to achieve. So, you know, every day I wake up, I'm like, yeah, okay, we got to deal with all this stuff, but what do I really want to get? And, you know, we got a couple personal projects that we're, you know, really getting in a great space so that in 5 years we're 100% better off. So.
I love it. That's so good. So I do have a question from Proverb Jacobs. What platform do the panel agents use for virtual tours?
I can answer that. It's a pretty popular company. We all know Open Homes Photography. There are a few others out there. They're very complete in that you can get your photographs. You can also have a 3D tour. You can have a, floor plans done. So you can, a buyer can see every bit of the house using this company, Open Homes Photography, because they have all different packages that you can pick from. So that's where what I use, and I think we all pretty much use that. I will add that if you go on to Zillow, they have virtual tours, but you cannot use a professional. You have to use your own. It's a great place that if you yourself want to give a video tour of the property, promoting yourself, let's say, or the property, you can go on to Zillow and then you upload it there. And now you have a virtual tour on Zillow. And Zillow and Redfin and some of the other popular sites, that's where buyers are looking. Unfortunately, when you're using something like Open Homes Photography, they sit on their own platform. They do on their own server, so they do not have a high SEO ranking. That's something that's a disadvantage there, and you only can have a unbranded link in the MLS. So you have to be able to convert their URL onto your website and other places that people would find you. You'd plug in that URL. So they're the main source, but you have to manipulate where you place that link online.
Love it. How about you, Julie? How are you getting exposure to these virtual tours?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, I'm with Compass, and so of course everything's getting loaded there, and the MLS, everything's going on the MLS, and we've now got clear cooperation. So within a day, everything is going onto the MLS. I've been on the ad review, and clear cooperation is sort of again, pushing us to put all of that stuff and make it very, very public. And with Gaylen, the MLS is a phenomenal tool, and it always has been for us. And they're clearly taking back their power to the extent that they can. And so it's like that. I mean, I'd love it to go, would I love all my houses to go virtual? That'd be great. That's a harder thing to do. We'll see if the bee suit works. I'll let you guys know.
Thanks. Great. How about you, Galen?
Yeah, I use all of the ones that everybody uses, except for I also use PowerPoint. No, I'm just kidding. I use Walk-In Tour, Open Homes, private photographers, you know, whoever will get the job done. It's really not one specific place. I think, you know, the most important thing, better off for this question would be and like Rosie tapped on, own your information, own the data, and make sure you don't give it out to somebody for free, because you're paying to get the information. And even if you didn't pay, if you spend years converting a client, that still is considered paying. So I had a lady yesterday call me who's been in the business for a very long time and said, why is your disclosure package, why do I got to log through your website to get your disclosures on Google Drive? Why isn't it not on Disclosure.io? And I said, well, because she's like, I just have to ask, because maybe you have a great reason, or you just are doing it the old way or whatever. I don't know what she was trying to imply, but I just said, because, you know, if I don't control it, somebody else is. And I guarantee you, Disclosures.io is not doing this for free, and they're tracking each and every movement and every piece of data and every agent and every buyer that's moving through this set of disclosures at all times. And I can guarantee you, most likely, and I don't know the truth, but whoever owns that, it has a gold mine of information. So the reason why I don't share my information out there to the world without access through me is because I want to know who and how it's getting accessed and why they're even using it. So it's a little bit off topic, but I think it's a very important thing that we all keep in mind. So if you're, you know, putting this stuff up for your website for SEO, or if you're just keeping hold of the information, I think it's really important that you become the gate holder of the information.
Great. Thank you, Galen. Well, I just want to thank, we have Rosie Nysaether, Julie Gardner, and Galen Roberts, and once again, another panel of very smart, successful agents that are giving back so generously to our community. And I want to thank you guys so much for doing that, and thank all of you who showed up. We had quite a crowd and we loved it. So thank you all. Next week, 1 o'clock, same bat channel, and we will have Claudia Mills, Anna Bellomo, and Sarah Minjao. And this will be yet another great panel. I want to thank you guys, Rosie, Julie, and Galen, and we'll see y'all next week.